You're listening to the All Birdies No Bogeys Podcast, your weekly disc golf analysis podcast right here on JomezPro. I'm your host, Brian Earhart. My co-host, Nate Perkins, joins me once again. Nate, it's another off week. The KC Wide Open's coming up back on the Elite Series. A little bit to talk about there. Also, yeah, it's an off week, but it's also Masters weekend. Nate, you're a huge traditional golf fan. I played a lot of traditional golf in school when I was growing up. Huge fan of the Masters as well. How did you feel after that finish?
And to be honest, Brian, I was never a golf fan growing up. I never played golf. I still have never really played too much golf myself, but it was only after, I became a disc golfer that I really, grew the appreciation for what it takes to be a golfer and started to appreciate, what it takes to become a champion on the PGA Tour. I still feel like golf is, infinitely harder than disc golf in many ways, especially on the green. But so it's been this kind of budding relationship. You become the golfer, and then you're like, okay, I understand. Like, these guys have to overcome a lot of what humans just have to overcome to become a champion, the doubt and the nerves and the pressure and everything. So I think the Masters is the single best golf tournament in the world. And for me, it's the way that it's the prestige surrounding it, of course. I mean, this was the 89th Masters, but it's the way that people talk about it. It's the way that the past champions talk about how it affected their life. It's the way that the fans talk about the experience that they have when they're, on the grounds there in Augusta. And it's just the buildup around it. So I've been tuning in now for, 7-8 years. I think it has the best app in sports, the Masters app. You can watch like the featured groups, you can watch Amen Corner, you can watch the broadcast live, and then you can click on every single player and watch every single shot. So it's just a way to immerse yourself in it. And for me, for the past 4 or 5 years in particular, I've been listening to the broadcast to kind of just work on my own skill set, listening to Jim Nantz, and they cycle so many different people in there, but I've been a huge Jim Nantz fan for some time now. But my biggest takeaway with the Masters is always the attention to detail on the broadcast, right? I feel like the way that they talk about how the ball is on a little bit of a downslope here, or it's on, it's covered by this much of the sand in the bunker, and this is the elevation at the lip of the bunker here, and this is exactly what they're trying to do. And I think that those attention to the details there is the real poetry of the broadcast. And so my fiance is making fun of me because I'm like listening and taking mental notes about like the ways that I can improve, and kind of relating it back to our sport.
I think something that they do really well, like you said, is to make you feel the emotions that the people who traveled all across the country feel, being there on the ground, soaking in the emotion of the moment. When Rory tapped in after the playoff, everybody felt the emotion in that moment. Everybody felt the romance of the sport of golf. And it's the job of the commentator to tell that story. And calling it poetry is perfect, really, because there's so many beautiful things that make golf great. And one of the things is describing the nature where we are. And Augusta National is perfect for that. And yeah, Jim Nantz is just a legend. And I remember when I first started doing commentary on YouTube with, me and you on Gatekeeper. My first gig was Gatekeeper back in 2018 with Joel Freeman. My dad was so excited when I told him I started doing this just for fun. And he's like, "Oh, you got to look at Jim Nantz. You got to watch Jim Nantz."
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was the first guy my dad told me to go out and study. And I think there's good reason for that. But Nate, golf commentary is golf commentary.
Mm-hmm.
We both have been doing different bits of commentary for quite some time now. What are you learning from these guys that you can actually apply to
Mm-hmm.
disc golf? And obviously, disc golf is a little bit different than traditional golf.
Yeah.
It's not as sleepy. It's a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
upbeat, a little bit more hype.
Yeah, a little
But there is a
quicker.
balance to try to find that I feel like me and you are still trying to figure out.
Yeah, man, it's the ultimate question. And for me, I think it's about those details, right? I think as the talent compresses, as the difference between the person that won the tournament and the person in last place, as the talent separation between them isn't a lot, as it is in golf, then it's about the little details of the rounds that really separates the scores is what it is. And so it's like whether the person in the morning, they whether they had fast greens or slow greens, and whether they had wind, they had no wind. And for disc golf, it's like was there dew on the ground? How slick were the tee pads? Like what was the exact wind speed and the exact wind direction? And, I don't think we can talk about wind too much in
Mhm.
disc golf because it affects the flight of a disc a lot more than it affects the flight of a golf ball. It does affect the golf ball, but a disc, it's everything, right? Whether you're throwing into a tailwind or a headwind, it's everything. And I think just zooming in on those details a little bit more and a little bit less of the conjecture of like if he does this, if what if he does that, will he make the lead card, like all of the storylines that we're trying to tell. I think we don't need to tell that, right? We can just zoom in on the details and the golf will just unfold in front of our eyes, in front of the viewer's eyes. So that's my biggest takeaway when I'm listening to these really you call it sleepy, and sometimes they don't talk for minutes. I'm
Mhm.
like, wait, are they even there? Because they're just letting the player talk with the caddy, or they're just watching them walk up the fairway, and there's a lot of space for the viewer to just kick back and kind of enjoy.
There was a shot. I don't know if it was this year, but I've never seen it in disc golf. I don't even know if we can do it because, like you said, you can watch every single shot. You just click on a player and you can watch them play golf. And I dream of the day that we can get to that point in disc golf. But there was a shot where the camera is like below the teeing surface and it's like behind this bush and it like rises up to like greet the player behind the tee. And it's like this peekaboo moment where you're like, oh, here we go. Here we are now. It's like you're in a 90s, high school movie where you're like, panning through the lockers in the hallways and you see one person pass by, you stop, and then you zoom in on somebody else at their locker. Like I felt like I got that from watching golf. Like you're just kind of in people's lives, getting up close and personal. And yeah, it's really beautiful stuff. And again,
Hmm.
they have so many more years on us in regards to
Yeah,
production and obviously the
100.
prestige and the money and how deeply rooted in American culture traditional golf is. But
Yeah,
man, I hope we can get there at some point. But
no doubt we'll get there.
I feel like another thing I wanted to ask you about. Me and Charlie tried it, and we got some funny comments about it. But we put the suits on. We wanted to see what would happen if we went full suits, ties at the
Hmm.
Waco tournament. This wasn't a major. This wasn't the World Championships.
Hmm.
Instantly, people were like, "No, absolutely not. You look ridiculous." We had some people tell us we look nice, but what do you think is the appropriate attire for disc golf commentary? We're just experimenting right now. We got the polos. We went with
Hmm.
suits. They're letting us kind of experiment with things. I think the button up is all right. I think that's
Hmm.
what I'm going to kind of stick with for now. What do you think compared to golf? Obviously, they look super sharp.
Yeah, they look great. I don't think disc golf is necessarily a suit and tie game, but I definitely think that, we should be professional and, we should match and maybe just have a little bit more comfort than the suit. but
Hmm.
I think it should be pretty high end. I think that when you're listening to someone talk that is, dressed nicely, you want to listen to what they have to say. So I think that the broadcasters should be pretty looking pretty good.
I have no problem being the guinea pig. I got a lot of nasty messages after the suits
No,
round one. Hey,
no
hey, you've
way.
been doing this a long time. It's a part of the job.
Yeah.
You're there to be judged. But you know what? I'm glad that we're figuring this out, and it's been kind of fun experimenting. I did tell people online at one point that I was going to wear a monocle and a top hat. I don't think I'm going to actually do that. Unfortunately, I don't have either, but maybe one day. But Nate, anything else about the Masters and kind of like what you picked up this week before we move on to actual disc golf?
No, let's talk about, what Go Throw and Humphreys are trying to do with their own Masters tournament. I think that, obviously Luke Humphreys is a huge golf fan
Yeah.
and plays golf at a high level still. And, they're trying to borrow a lot directly from the Masters tournament. I saw that they had red jackets. I don't know if they awarded AB that red jacket for taking it down, but they're calling it the Masters Invitational at Eagles Crossing, and it was just a 32 person tournament, invitation only. So I think in that regard, I like that. I like the smaller field and the fat payout. I think it's a unique, a unique angle at a disc golf tournament, and the venue that they chose is pretty special. When you think of Augusta National. I mean, you've been there. You've been there. You,
Mhm.
you were talking about the Waffle House that is like on the corner
Right
before you
across the
turn into
street.
the property, right? It's
Yeah.
it's Augusta's not a destination in itself, right? It's just this small town, southeastern United States, and Eagles Crossing disc golf course is in the middle of Missouri. The
Mhm.
closest cities are like St. Louis and Kansas City, and they're both an hour and a half away at least, I think. So it's out there, it's in the sticks, but what they've done with that course is it's hard to even compare with anything else in the world of disc golf. I think he sank a million plus into the just the construction of the
Mhm.
course alone. So when you go there, you play the course, it's really like nothing else. I think the closest thing is maybe like a Maple Hill where
Mhm.
they've really like put thought and had a vision with certain greens and tees and stuff and really built them up over time. But even Maple Hill, I don't think has sunk the same amount of dollars that Eagles Crossing has into the infrastructure of the course.
It reminds me from a design standpoint and maybe from a terrain standpoint of like Harmony Benz meets Roy G. There's a lot of scattered
Nice.
trees. There's not a lot of underbrush. There's hardly any on the holes to the point where
Hmm.
you kick off the fairway. There's not like a defined line to the basket, but there's a ton that you can try taking. So scrambling
Hmm.
is absolutely in play. Some of those fairways are super, super tight.
They're
Um,
tight with
watch,
OB.
yeah.
It's nasty. It's a nasty course, Brian. I mean, the world champ, the reigning two-time world champion, shot 14
Mm.
over par, round one. 14 over par. And it's a non-sanctioned tournament, so I'm sure at some point he got just like let loose a little bit. He's like, it's all good. I'm not center stage here, but still, it shows you just the teeth
Mhm.
of the course. Like if you're off your line, you're not hitting lines, it's tough to score. The course record before this weekend was 4 under par,
Wow.
and it was
Wow.
broke this week, so it's now set at 7. So I believe Adam Hemis and AB both shot 7 today.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous property. And really, I got to give a shout out to just the entire state of Missouri. Some of the most underrated disc golf terrain just across the board. One of my favorite tournaments was back in Vichy, Missouri at the Ozark Mountain Invitational. It was a unsanctioned
Oh,
tournament every spring, every fall. Sometimes they sanctioned it, but I played like 6 years in a row. I played both of them, the fall and the spring harvest. And
wow.
uh, it's
I've heard some
unbelievable
stories
terrain.
there.
It's,
I've heard some
yeah.
great stories about that one, Brian. Zach Johnson had been hyping that place up for a long time.
That's where I met Zach. Me and him played
Yeah.
so many rounds of disc golf together out there. That's where I first played with Nico for the first time. It's just a gorgeous 3-course property all throughout the Ozark Mountain Range, and it's gone now. I think it got sold off as hunting property, but
Mm.
some of the best disc golf I've ever played. But you go across Missouri, and there's tons of it. I've played, what is it? There's a really Branson Trails. It's this
Yep.
crazy course. There's like rock boulder greens all over the place.
Oh yeah.
It's ripe for disc golf. So yeah, it's sad that it's so far away from
Hmm.
civilization. I know, when it comes to a disc golf pro tour event, world championships, things like that, there's a little bit more that you need. However, I kind of like the prospect of just a one-off tournament that's like,
Hmm.
all right, we're just going to kind of do it our own way, and
Hmm.
we're not going to turn it into anything else. We're just going to try to blow this thing up as big as we can. I kind of love that. I hope there's more of those throughout the disc golf world. I mean, I love that there's a tour that the players can follow. They know that their careers are based off of that tour, and the majors around it. But
Hmm.
I'd love to see more one-off events that kind of, with unsanctioned tournaments, you kind of have to set your own rules up and kind of tell the players what sport you're playing, because you're not, you're either specifying PDGA rules or you're making your own rule book. But I kind of love that.
Sure.
I love
Yeah.
that. What do you think?
Yeah, Brian, I think that there's a space for it. And when we have an event in the middle of nowhere, like it's okay for it to be less spectator driven and more,
For sure.
media driven. Like we can make a couple different post-produced videos from it, whether it just be, the front nine, back nine, like we've been doing for years, and also the storylines that are involved. And GoThro is doing a little bit of that. I love the intros that they're having. They're also doing these, they're doing a live podcast before the event. That's been pretty cool to tune into. And, I think that there's space for, the Disc Golf Pro Tour to do stuff like that in
Yeah.
the future as well, and have these invitational events. And, hats off to GoThro for the payout that they were able to
Yeah.
gather this week. I think that they were originally going for 50K, and then it ended up being a 20K purse for the 32 people. So top 12 made the cut to get paid, but really top heavy. I think AB, let me pull it up right now actually. AB got 7,500 for first place.
Nice.
And our boy Gavin, 3,600 for second.
Rathbun.
Yeah, Rathfun, dude. That's like how many whatnot streams does it take to get to 3,600, man? That's a good payday. And then 1980 for third, it's and then what, 455 for last cash. So don't know what the entry fee was or if there even was one. But top heavy as it tends to be in disc.
My question for you, this is just a thought experiment. You look down this list. Obviously, it was an invitational, 32 players, MPO only,
Mm-hmm.
and Garrett Gerthy is in last place.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's talent up and down the leaderboard. Cole Radalin, Joseph Anderson,
Yeah.
all on last card, all finishing down bottom of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a tour, just a full-on tour where the entire field was this talented, where there was no black sheep, it was just simply 1030 plus rated players every weekend, what would that last cash need to be every week for that tour to be sustainable and for the players to want to keep going?
Yeah, the last cash, I really think that when you're trying to make it around the US and get to the next stop, that the money from the tournament, if you're getting last cash, it's really just a bonus, right? Like you have to be making ends meet elsewhere if you aren't in contention every week. That's just the reality
Yeah.
of where we're at with disc right now. Like Gannon Burr's not really thinking about money, Calvin Heimberg, AB, like those heavy hitters, they're not thinking about money. But you start going down the leaderboard, those guys they're of course they're battling for last cash,
Hmm.
but the money there, it just needs to be a bonus. It needs to be a bonus, and you have to make ends meet elsewhere. So the last cash dollar amount, I don't know, $500 doesn't really cover traveling to the event, right? Like, unless your sponsor's paying that
Yeah.
$300 entry fee. You get $500. Like, what are you eating that week? Like, where are you sleeping? Like, it's tough to
Yeah.
rely on that. So my advice would be to just try to make it to where you're not even thinking about what last cash
Mhm.
is, and you try and put the finances like somewhere else. You compartmentalize it, take care of business, between the weekends, right? And then when it comes time to golf, you're not thinking about, whether you're going to eat,
Mhm.
sushi or whether you're going to eat rice and beans.
Yeah. Well, Nate, to answer the question from my perspective, I feel like it's got to be close for that talented of a field. Uh, you're not going to make cash every weekend unless you're the best of
No.
the best of the best. Last cash has got to be like $5,000. We got to get to a place for that theoretical field to even exist. Like that
Mm-hmm.
many good players to want to go on tour full time. Last cash needs to
Mm-hmm.
be like $5,000. And
Yeah, to
actually,
where it's actually go ahead, sorry.
well, yeah, I'll let you finish real quick, but I want to just say in traditional golf, Masters, Rory McIlroy takes home 4.2 million for the win.
Oof.
Last cash down to
Jeez.
tied for 52nd place. Stephen Yeager and Tom Kim took home $51,660 for last cash. So
Wow.
it's just a different world, and I
Different
think,
world.
man, we're always going to have a throttle in that regard. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
MPO field, FPO field, the fields are talented, but to get to that theoretical future place where everyone is like top of the top and where it's super competitive to get into the tour, just like it is the PGA Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the payouts just need to keep getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And they have been. It's pretty incredible what the tour's been
They
able to
are.
do over the years.
Yeah. They're on their way, man. Our sport is just it's so creative, and the stories that are told every weekend have the same potency to me that are the stories that are told, on the PGA Tour. The history is there, and the lives of the players are changing when they're winning these
Yeah,
events. And I feel it when I'm on the ground. I feel it when I'm interviewing someone. Their lives are changed, and that in itself is enough to build the sport up. In this amazing like time and place that we live, to be able to even have these sports. But also our game is just dope, man. Like, it's
yeah,
so creative. Like, to be
yep.
able to, like, you can hit a ball and you can make the ball go a little left and you can make it spin on the ground a little bit, and it's pretty cool. But you can't make the ball go left
Mhm.
and then right and then left again in the same shot. It's just like we have a leg up in that place, right? The multi-angle shot and the complexity of the shape of the discs and the nose
Mhm.
angle and the speed. It's a beautiful game. And I just
Yeah,
don't doubt that if we continue to just work together and show more people the game and broadcast it to the world, that it's going to grow, because we live in a place that adores sports, and I think we have one of the best sports in the whole world. So I think it's going to get there, and 51 grand for last cash would be sick, Brian.
oh, that would be something. I mean, I'm thinking of a day where $5,000 would be last cash, and it would
That would be
blow my
rad.
mind. Nate, I
Yeah.
remember I remember in 2018, I think it was me and you or me and AJ Risley, we're just dreaming and just talking amongst ourselves thinking, "Oh man, what if every weekend it was 10,000 first place? That would be incredible. Everyone's life would be just completely changed." And here
Yeah.
it is. Like it's
Yeah.
here now, and we have to remember and take stock of where we are. But we got KC Wide Open coming up next week.
Yep.
Bad Rock Creek.
And
I love this
Missouri's
place.
it's in the spotlight right now.
Yeah.
Missouri's really in the spotlight, and I'm I'm really happy we're going back to Kansas City, and that it's going to be on center stage. This is, I think 43rd annual
Yep.
KC Wide Open. So that's a ton of history right there. I mean, that's one of the longest running disc golf tournaments in the world. Only a few out there are longer, and so there's just a ton of history at Kansas City Wide Open, but it hasn't been a part of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, right?
Mhm.
It's only been seen a couple times. Like, I think we had a Q Series last year, we had Silver Series the year before, maybe one other silver since, DGPT's inception in 2016. But the Kansas City Wide Open used to be one of the biggest events of the year on the National Tour Series.
Yep.
And it was just a mecca for disc golf. And, there was a World Championships hosted there. Avery Jenkins won his Worlds there. And it's just great for that history to kind of be recognized and remembered, and also, celebrated in a new way with this amazing course that we're going to. We're going to Bad Rock
Yes.
Creek, and I'm so stoked for it to be an Elite Series event because it's fully deserving of it with just the course alone. You take out the history of KC, you take out everything, just the course alone, Brian. Um, it's worthy of an Elite Series. I mean, I first time I laid eyes on this course was 3 years ago, and there was one person under par. Right, we're talking like Andy Marweed, Cale LaVisca, Clemens, LaCastro, like a lot of good players, and nobody's like getting under par. And your eyes perk up. You're like, wait, no one's shooting under par and they're winning the tournament. Drew Gibson won with 9 under last year,
Mhm.
3 rounds. Right, it's a nasty track. What do you know about it?
It employs one of my favorite elements of course design, especially for professional players. Um, if I gave you a par 3 and a full-size tee pad, it was a 400-foot hole, and I gave you that same 400-foot hole, but instead of a tee pad, you had to throw it behind a mini. So much tighter footwork you had to keep track of. Obviously, the mini is much harder to throw. So at this course, the tougher, longer shots that take power a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times are behind the mini, and the
Mm-hmm.
technical shot, weave through a gap, get out to a landing zone, use touch to get to where you want to be, that comes off the tee. So kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
reverse par 4 effect, where the
Mm-hmm.
tougher shot, the more powerful shot is behind a mini with an 8x11 sheet of paper. So players routinely screw these shots up.
Mm-hmm.
Because on a tee pad, you can step anywhere you want. You can have
Sure.
whatever
Not thinking
footing
about
you
that
want.
footwork. Yeah.
I watch the best throwers in the world all the time when I'm on the ground stunt their final step. They short themselves. Their cross step hits a
Mm.
little bit too long, and then they have to stop short of their mini. They screw up their timing. They shank the shot. This
Mm-hmm.
is like some of the best guys in the world, and Bad Rock makes you uh, have to be super crisp with your footwork behind your mini in the
Mm.
fairways, and especially when the course gets wet and muddy, it's
Mm-hmm.
so challenging. So,
Oh, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Love that take right there, Brian. I hadn't thought of it that way. And yeah, you're totally right. A lot of power off the tee and then going back into the woods. They weave in and out perfectly, right? And that's amazing to have that combination, because then we can line those fairways with the spectators too.
Mhm.
And Kansas City's going to show up. And I reached out to the tournament director, Jerry Patterson, who has been, he's been deep. He's been a solid thread in the KC disc golf community for 10 years, 10 plus years now. He's been running several events there. He's the TD this year, and he said they put 50K into the course over the last year. So we're looking at some of these greens, and there's all these like stone structures
Mm.
around the green kind of defining it, and there's so much work. There's a great partnership with, I think it's the city of Liberty, that has really recognized what they have there. And so the manicured fairways and the way that they like carve in like the OB strips, so it's like clearly defined. So we're gonna be like drones flying over, and it's gonna be looking like a golf course,
Mhm.
right? You're gonna be able to see what the second cut is, where the OB is, where the actual green is, and we're gonna be remembering the shots and remembering the holes with ease.
I will never forget Gannon breaking that hole. I think it's a par four,
Yeah,
par
that
five, all the way
Mando,
through the
the
woods.
12th. Yeah, yeah. That was crazy. They changed the
Yes.
rule.
Mid-tournament, they had to. There
Yeah,
was no choice.
mid-tournament.
It was a
Yeah.
safety precaution because Gannon's throwing a huge Sky Anheuser completely outside of the woods over the green of one of the holes.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That
you
was
don't see
sweet. Was
that
that
too
2
often
years
anymore.
ago?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was when was Joey Buckets in the
yeah.
mix there? I remember Jake Hebenheimer had a chance like on the 18th as well. I think Hebenheimer's actually taken third here twice. I think
Mhm.
he took third last year as well. It was like Drew Gibson, GT Hancock, Jake, and then the year before Gannon. Gannon like shredded. I think he went 24 down
Yeah,
through 3 rounds, which I think if you replicate that this coming week, I think that would take it home.
for
I think
sure.
he averaged 1060 something. He shot a 1072 round two, which is still the course record there, 12 under. And that might have been the day that that they changed the rule after he broke that hole.
Yeah, and you don't see that too often anymore. You really don't.
No.
I remember, well, I don't quite remember any hole being patched up like that, but I understand why they had to do it like a couple
The
years
Simon
ago.
Lizotte one. Remember at
Yes.
JomezPro? He went
Yes.
left on 6 and
Mhm.
yeah, broke that hole. I think they still have a little sign right there.
It was 2013 World Championships, Lemon Lake White. Were you there?
I wasn't. That was the year before I started playing.
Okay. So hole 10, I believe, was a par 5. The opening tee shot was like downhill tunnel, and it's like 200 feet, and then you have to go sideways and then back up a hill. It was a weird mess of a hole. I forgot who I saw doing it. Maybe Avery Jenkins. Looked directly right of the tee pad. Over the tee sign was a little hole in the trees, and everybody just blasted a hyzer. This like beautifully manicured tunnel that nobody took because everyone was throwing the hyzer out
Wow.
over the tee sign. But I don't think we're going to see anything like that this year at Bad Rock. The one thing I do know about KC is these guys have been there and done that. Like, yes, it's on the Elite Series this year, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely something to celebrate, but
Yeah.
these guys know how to run a disc golf tournament. You go to KC for anything that they run, and it's smooth. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm running a first time event for Jomez, the Jomez Putting League out there, and got in contact with some
Sweet.
people, and instantly they're like, "Oh yeah, what do you need? Oh, I got you on this. I have a connection here. We ran a putting league at this place. We know this guy. He works here." And everything just kind of goes bing bang boom and gets put
Mm-hmm.
together. And I just got to give a huge shout out to the KC community because yeah, you guys know disc golf. And I feel like the tour is in really, really good hands coming here because yes, we have an operations crew. It's like
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 guys that work super hard day in and day out. The local organizing community or committee
They're
matters so
everything.
much putting these tournaments on.
They're
And
everything, man.
yeah, so I just got to give a huge shout out to Kansas City. You guys are awesome. Uh,
Did you ever play a Kansas City wide open? Did you ever play like Swope Gold or
no,
Waterworks?
no, I never played Swope Gold. I've played Waterworks
Yeah.
recreationally. My first year on tour, I did not bake it into the schedule because
Mm-hmm.
I went to Colorado instead, I believe.
I played my first national tour, Brian, was Kansas City wide open. And round one, I played with Will Schusterick, who was the third ranked player in the world. And I tied him that round, right? This is like, I'm like a 970 rated player. My dad takes a picture of the scorecard and is like texting, family members, like he tied the third ranked player in the world, like, and we played Swope Gold and it was like ahead of its time. It was like a city park, but it was like USDGC style
Mhm.
ropes. And I remember talking to other people and they're like, this is a new thing. Like all this
Mhm.
OB, these island holes, all these drop zones. And I think sadly that course is no longer, but one of, it's just one of the best places to visit to go play high level public disc golf courses, Waterworks,
For sure.
and yeah, and now this Bad Rock Creek has a reputation, and it's I think just like 20 minutes northeast of town. So they've really got some good discs going on in KC.
Go take a vacation there. I like to point out the places where you can go take a weekend
Yeah,
trip or take some PTO, take some
yeah.
buddies like
Charlotte,
Nashville, Charlotte.
Austin.
You go
Yeah,
out to Kansas City in the Midwest, you're going to have a great time playing disc golf out there. There's great
yeah.
food, there's great coffee, there's great breweries everywhere. It's truly a great place to be. And if you want to go get competitive, there's leagues all over the place out there. There's no shortage of disc golfers. Um, but Nate, I want to ask you, we have match play coming up. We had 2 Perks picks that had to roll over for this because unfortunately the course was completely underwater in Nashville. So we
That was
moved it all
sad. That
here.
was sad.
We had to cut a couple of the pools because certain players are not going to be there. Kristen's not going to be there. So her match is not going to get played, but we have Paul Ricky still happening in match play. We have Ella Holland still happening in match play. I'm going to give you another chance to make your picks of who you think is going to win for the Perks picks next week.
Okay, so what you said, Ella Holland. So we're going.
Yeah.
We're picking all of them. Picking all of them.
Yep.
And I'm going Holland. Going Holland, no doubt. And then who's our other matchup?
Paul Rick.
I'm going Paul, man. I mean, I'm going Paul. I think I went with Rick last time, but things are getting a little skinny at Bad Rock, a little technical, and Paul's playing good right now. Paul's playing good. I mean, you would ask me at the end of last year, it's a slam dunk Rick pick, but I'm going Paul Holland.
I think I picked the opposite of you last time and you switched, and I think I'm still picking the opposite of you. I just think
No, we both switch.
we haven't gotten to see them go head-to-head in match play
Yeah.
in a long time, maybe ever on the official tour. I think Rick's going to come alive. I think he's going to get pissed because he knows. He read the LA Times article in 2016. He heard trash talking Paul McBeth when he was on his run.
Yeah.
I think
No,
he internalized some of that stuff, and I bet he's licking his chops. So I'm going to pick Rick this time. I think it's going to be a great match. And then I think Ella, when it comes to like technical courses, I think her and Holland are kind of on a similar playing field. But I want to see the competitive edge show up with Ella. I feel like if it's a different format and she gets to go up against one player in Holland, who knows? She's going to come alive. So there you go. There are your Perks picks for the week.
I want to talk a little bit about more about the Paul and Rick situation, because last year, mid-year, we talked a lot about legacy, right? Like who's going to have the bigger legacy in the game, who's going to play for longer. And I hadn't given up on Paul, but I just felt like it started to mean a little less to him, right? He had the kid, and he's doing more things with the foundation. He's traveling a little bit less, and it just felt like the losses weren't as meaningful to him as they were just even a year or a couple years ago, and everything meant more to Rick, right? Like he was playing high level golf and was as healthy as we'd ever seen him, and it just felt like it was a no-brainer that Ricky was going to have the longer career. While it might not ever match what Paul did with the 4 worlds, consecutive, and the 2015 season, 2019 season, and the 18 unders, just his whole legacy. Ricky, I still felt like was going to last longer, and now just all of a sudden, I'm wondering who is going to last longer. Like Paul is like totally turned, and it means the world to him again, right? Like he is zoomed in on every aspect of his game and every aspect of the tournament, and he's been in every single like running this year. So
yeah,
who do you think's going to have a longer career, Brian, at this point? Who's going to last longer?
Because you're saying this knowing that one or both of them are going to make official announcements that they're retiring. Like they've done this for too long to not be like, hey guys, like I'm officially not renewing my tour card. I'm done. Right?
I
That's
I
what,
I I think that I don't see that happening for a decade. I don't know about a retirement. I'm like wondering like who's going to be able to compete at the top level for longer.
okay. So I guess I'm trying to define it. So
Yeah, yeah.
like when I say like that, I guess to me, they're going to not overstay their welcome. And my
Yeah.
thought is, I think the measure of their longevity is who is going to keep their tour card longest. Because
Yeah.
maybe they
You're right
keep their
because they
tour
won't
card
they're
and
not
play
going to
one event.
retire.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
So
Yeah, they'll retire before they're not competitive at the
yeah.
top.
So
Yeah.
I think it was Grant or you or somebody asked Paul recently, what's the difference this year and last year? And Paul
Mhm.
just very simply said, I don't have a torn labrum. And it sounds like last year, like the labrum was still giving him a huge problem.
Mhm.
So this year he's healed. He's thrown the disc a lot faster. His putt, just objectively by the numbers, is not great right now. But I still think we're going to see him win one. He's still really chomping at the bit. But I think Paul has right now more things in place that will pull him off the tour.
Mm.
Um, But Rick is the most single-minded pro disc golfer I've ever met. It's crazy. He's been
Mhm.
doing this for well over a decade, and he
Mhm.
still has this beginner's mind to things, which is a complete compliment.
Yeah.
He's just so unjaded by things, and he's not
Mhm.
bothered by a lot of the same stuff that people have. He's very
Mhm.
simple-minded when it comes to the sport. Like if it's pouring rain, he'll just show up. He's laughing. He's got his raincoat on. He's not phased by anything. He's just ready to show up and play disc golf. So
And he's hungry, man. He's
it's
so
easily
hungry every
Rick.
time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
easily
yeah.
Rick. And I don't know, maybe he gets that world championship, his third world title, and maybe he slows
Yeah, cruise
down. But
control. Yeah.
I don't know, man. What do you think? You think it's
Sweet.
Rick too?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I'm just here to see it unfold as
Mhm.
well. I love where Paul's at. What is he? I think he's fifth in Pro Tour points right now and has been close to a win. So I I want to see them competing in 10 years. I want to be 42 and still talking about it on, Jomez and the Disc Golf
Yeah,
Network, the Paul and Rick like legacy. And I think we'll have that.
it's good for the game. It is
Yeah.
very good for the game. And right now, Gannon Burr is number one in the standings. Like there's a lot of
Hmm.
big
Without a
storylines
win, without a dub
without a
either.
win.
Yeah.
And he's got the knee brace on. He said he heard a pop in his knee.
Yeah. Dang.
So that's up in the air. Who knows how much he's going to let us in on.
Yeah.
There's a
He'll be
lot
all
to
right.
talk
He
about
played good
here.
golf this week. He was leading
Yeah, he
after
did.
round one. I think he finished in fifth. But he played good golf out there, and he's won at KC. I'd say he's the clear favorite for me still. I think, is Nicholas in the field? Is he going to KC?
Let's see. Antala, I don't see.
That'd be wild
Yeah, he's
to go
not.
back to back and then not be in the field.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's here. Let me just double check. No, no, he's
Not
not.
in the field.
Good for him,
So
man. Get your
is Burr
back-to-back
your clear
dubs. Get
pick?
out of town.
Just go back home for a little bit before Champs Cup?
Yeah. But with that, Nate, I have the registration list. We have our picks
Mm-hmm.
for the match
Mm-hmm.
play. Who is your pick to win? Again, 5 points for a win, 3 points for a podium. FPO, MPO.
Is it just too cheap of me to go with Burr
Nope.
again?
Nope.
It just feels like cheap, and it's not anything against the field. I I'm gonna go with Anthony Barella, partly because I
Yeah.
I don't want to just like ride Gannon. um, I'm not too worried about the knee with Burr. Played great this week. Looked pretty solid on round one coverage, but AB took it down, set the course record at Eagles Crossing, and is also ready to win a tournament again.
Mm.
Like his buddy Adam already won, and he's been close, but he's let it slip. And Bad Rock Creek is going to take some high level shots, and AB is going to be putting it way up the fairway, and he's going to be throwing Luna in where a lot of people are still going to be throwing some faster discs in, and the putter looked great. I'm going AB.
Well, I feel like now's the time to bet on Gannon. I just have to do it. It's time. He's number one in tour standings. Hasn't gotten a win yet, but you look at the categories he's leading. He's just crushing people. So, putter looked pretty good at Eagles Crossing, at least in round one. But yeah, he's my pick. I am going to take the number one. And then for FPO, I'm going with Owen Scoggins. She just won St. Charles Open, I believe.
She played. What is she doing, dude? She never stops.
Never stops.
You would think that she would take a break and let the nerve situation kind of settle, but she's just, talk about hungry.
She loves chucking. She loves chucking the disc.
Insane.
So I pick Owen. She got second last year.
Is Silva playing?
I think she went back home. Yeah. So we got,
she's not playing?
We got Holland, Owen, Missy, Haley, Kat Murch, Ella, Rebecca Cox, Natalie Ryan, Valerie Mondojano, Haiti Lina, Cadence Burge, Jennifer Allen. Lisa Fakis won last year.
Really?
She beat Owen by one last year. So
look, this is a brutal course, and we're talking FPO, like 8 under could win the tournament. 3 rounds. There's a lot of OB, and there's just tight gaps, and we've seen they do have a shorter layout, and their layout is tailored to them. So there's a lot of scoring opportunity, but it's just mean. And I think that brings a lot of players in the mix when you have a course that's difficult like that, because you just have the variance at the top more. Like you have, Holland could shoot a 5-6 over par if she gets offline. Same with Missy, Ella, any of those players, they could have a bad day because of how hard the course is, and it brings other players in. Rebecca Cox, like you said, Lisa, Kat Murch. I'm still going to go with Holland for the dub.
Ooh.
And I want to go on both of those. I want to go honorable mention Andrew Marweed, because he needs to win. He's been playing great golf. He just got 5th at Nashville, and like he's ready to win a tournament, and he's played good golf there. And then honorable mention FPO Rebecca Cox. I also think she's ready, and I think that the fans are kind of ready. They feel it coming with her.
I agree, man. Rebecca's been playing some fantastic golf and showing the ceiling as well. Like we've known she's a good player for a very long time, but finally stringing together the birdies and showing up on top of the leaderboard multiple times this year. So, yeah, great calls. But it's going to be a little bit of a shootout for us. Now, Nate, last segment I had before you can go into whatever category you want to go into, we had some fans submit some questions to us. And if you want to submit questions to us to answer at the end or the beginning of episodes, send us an email. We have an email address now, abnbpod@gmail.com, abnbpod@gmail.com. Send us a question. If it's ridiculous,
for sure,
we're probably not going to answer it. If it's something that we probably shouldn't say out loud, we're not going to answer it. But you can get as close as possible. You can test your luck and see.
No, make them crazy. I want to answer some crazy stuff.
Man, Nate, I've gotten enough.
Who's your least favorite person on tour? That's just a funny one, dude. Who's the biggest asshole on tour? Well, me sometimes. Let's avoid that question. Come on.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that. All right, so here's a few that got sent in. would you like to see the majors set up more like ball golf majors, where scoring is generally lower? So 11
Mm,
under par total at the Masters on a course that's not very long.
mm-hmm,
It's very angle heavy, very
mm-hmm.
strategic. What do you think about that?
I don't think we should be trying to mimic the scores of golf. Disc golf is just it's a little different, and a lot of that comes down to the short game, right? Like we can design a really difficult course, but if a player can get in range, they can make putts from distance and they can score. And it's just not the same in golf. Like you can have that short kind of, hole, or a shorter par 4, shorter par 5, but getting close to that hole and scoring is just always going to be harder. So it's okay for the scoring to be a little more widespread in disc golf. And I think that we should pay less attention to the metrics of birdies and pars and stuff, and more create holes that you want to see players challenged by. Like create a hole. Do you want to see a mid-range Anheuser that is nose up and turning late in the flat? Like what shots do you want to see?
Yeah.
Create that in the hole, create that puzzle, and let it unfold, right? We don't need to try and create a certain score. That's my take.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I really enjoy watching people shred. And I'm kind of on the same plane as you in that putting is where a lot of the scoring happens in traditional golf. Putting in our sport is so much different. Like there's a reason
Mm-hmm.
why we birdie so many holes. It's because
Yeah.
a 5-footer
Got
in
that
disc golf is a
range.
gimme, and
Yeah.
5-footer in traditional golf is really hard sometimes when the pressure's on. So
Yeah.
that's why they score so different. Getting to the green is relatively similar.
It is
But
similar.
once we get to the green, getting into the basket is so much easier. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with it scoring a little bit better. I'm okay with double-digit rounds being the hot rounds. I'm also okay with a couple courses every year that people have a shot of shooting 18 under par. I'm okay with players going for a 300 game, so to speak. I think that's really exciting, and I think it's a cool part of our sport. So yeah, good question. On kind of that same note, picture your dream disc golf course, Nate, your dream
Mm-hmm.
private facility.
Yeah.
What facilities would you have on your dream disc golf course?
I would have an outdoor amphitheater stage where the band started playing right after the final putt on the 18th. And I would have maybe some little apple orchard with like a little cidery,
Ooh,
and some drinks for people. And I would have a little clear running creek where you could, with a little swimming hole, maybe a couple little swimming holes on it. Yeah, those are my facilities.
well, Nate, I would design the fattest tee pads you could possibly imagine. And at this
Yeah.
course, you must start and end on the tee pad. And well, actually,
Oh,
you
cool.
get to. You
You
get to
get to.
start
We're
and
talking
end on
like
the tee pad.
20 by 20.
I'm talking big boys. I'm talking some big old boys. And I feel like in disc golf the tee pads need to be bigger.
Sure.
Back in the day they need to be,
With
you know,
like
back
a springboard. I've always thought it should be like a springboard, like, they have in gymnastics, like the floor routine, right? Like give us a little bounce. Like, could you imagine like a
ooh,
little bounce in the tee pad that like enabled you to like really get some more leverage? That'd be
dude.
great.
Steve Brinster with the hop, he'd be like 2 feet off the ground when he's doing his X step. That'd be a little interesting. But yeah, huge tee pads for me. I also have this dream of an infinite Mando, like a beautiful giant golden ring, like a modern art
Mm,
piece. where you
Mm-hmm.
tee off from the top of a hill down to a flat landing zone, and
Mm-hmm.
the golden ring, this giant, 25 feet, across,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
is what you
Sonic the
have to
Hedgehog.
throw. Yeah, what you have to throw
It
through to get to
spins
an
when you
island or
make it,
something. Yeah.
and it twirls when you make it, lights up.
No,
Yeah,
not
you
like
know, yeah,
Sonic. No, no.
you're going more on the golf course, which is, man, there's just so much you could do. I like the ring idea, and I want I also want to be able to play an entire tournament in the dark, right? I think it would be
Yeah.
sweet if we had like light up discs that they spun on the edge, not just like a glow disc, but like on the edge of the disc, so you could see its flight. And then there were a lot of like LED lights on the course, right? Like the
Mhm.
fairway had like a certain hue to it. The OB lines were like red LEDs. The basket is a certain color, and like it lights up, like almost like Tron. Like if we just like integrated Tron into disc and we played at night, I think that would be sweet.
Yeah, I would love to go to a course like that, especially like a championship course where it's pretty easy to get around. That would be pretty incredible. Fun
Yeah.
fact: my friend actually got paid like $50 an hour to be the frisbee thrower in the Tron exhibit at Disney. He dressed up
No
like the Tron
way.
person, like played catch with the disc back and forth, and got paid.
Sweet.
Shout outs to Don, good guy. Okay, another question, and this is something we're probably just gonna have one time. We might not answer this question too much, but I knew we were gonna get it. What is your hottest take in the sport of disc golf? And Nate, I will kick it off so you can think, because when I saw it come in, I had
It's
to
a
think a
tough
little
one.
bit. I don't know if I've heard this before, but as a lefty, I feel like a little bit credible to say this. When it comes to course design, I just don't think we as lefties need to be considered as much as people think in the course design. I just feel like there's so few lefties in the field that you don't need to design an entire hole based on us. Just go for it. Give the righties what they want. Design the crazy long turnover par threes. Because for me, if they thought too much about the lefties in the design, hole 14 at Maple Hill wouldn't exist. It's the one that me and you have always gone back to as like the anti-lefty hole.
Hmm.
And I just think that if I become a parent one day, which, who knows, that kid's learning with both hands. That kid's just going to learn to throw a disc with both hands. And just in playing catch, I'm going to throw to them with both hands. They're going to throw
Hmm.
back to me with both hands. I just don't think a small population like the lefties need to be super considered. I mean, yes, a little bit, but just give it to the righties. That's all right.
I love that, Brian. Just give it up. So your take is that it shouldn't be, and that's hot. That's hot. That's the hottest take.
I think that's
Huh.
all I got. I think that's all I
Yeah.
got.
Uh-huh.
Maybe not.
I love that you're here and that you're giving the lefty angle, and that, there's a voice for them to be heard, and it
We need
could be
one.
hot because, I mean, what's the percentage of lefties? Is that like a 10% thing?
10%.
10% of the world's lefty? Hottest take? I there's not too many that I can think of. I don't personally believe this, but but what if the men's and women's divisions completely had their own tours? Would there be a chance
Mm.
for like the Disc Golf Pro Tour FPO tour and the Disc Golf Pro Tour MPO tour? Would splitting that up in some way
Mm.
enable the FPO sport to grow and the MPO sport to grow, or would that be detrimental? And
I see.
the first thing I think of is that we're so in this together, as far as like, we got a lot of FPO players that tour with MPO players, everyone gets to travel together. Like, we're literally a family. Like, the
Mm.
DGPT is a family, and it would be really weird to split it up, but no other sport does it. right? That I can think of. Like the majors, they come together in tennis, right? But
Yeah.
I watch, what was that, Breakpoint on Netflix? Like they don't tour together.
No.
They don't see each other. Like if you're a female tennis player dating a men's tennis player, you see them at the majors, right? And that's it. And in golf, they don't ever play together, right? LPGA is its own thing, PGA is its own thing, and I wonder if there is a way that would be beneficial, or if that's scrapped. I actually don't hear anybody bring that up. What do you think?
Well, I think the one positive of having FPO specific tournaments, obviously, USWDGC
Mm-hmm.
was awesome at Sprinkle Valley. It was such a cool experience.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they drew a crowd. But I think it's the fact that you can open up the field a little bit, so they're not like
Mm-hmm.
throttled, and just both
Right,
both
right.
divisions can kind of max out. But to me, at least right now, culturally, I love having both divisions here. I actually
Mm-hmm.
saw a video of a little boy that I was hosting for that Play with the Champs thing for Jomez at Olympus. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
this little kid who played in that event was talking on this video, and he was talking about how starstruck he was to turn around and say something, and Paige Pierce is standing right there in front of him. I think
Mm-hmm.
it is just so cool that in our sport, little kids, boys, girls, whatever, get to grow up and have this immense respect for male and female athletes all in the same place. That's like a new
Yeah,
paradigm in the
it
sports
is.
world. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
that is pretty dang cool. I really love that. And you're seeing it kind of happen in basketball right now with what Caitlin Clark did to kind of like bring the culture into a new light,
Mm-hmm.
bring that into the spotlight in the basketball world. But I just, I don't know, just that one instance of that little boy like being like that,
Yeah,
female pro athlete just like gave me, a starstruck feeling. I don't want that to ever go away. So as long
yeah.
as we can try our best to keep them together, that's what I want.
Sweet. I like keeping them together too. I think when I describe a Sunday to my family member or someone that doesn't know disc golf, I'm like, look, we're doing something that other people aren't doing, right? We're celebrating the FPO champion in the early afternoon, and we're celebrating the MPO champion in the evening, and we're broadcasting the entirety of both.
All
I
day.
just don't I just don't know other sports that are doing that. Like, and it is really special to celebrate both, like in the same venue, and in the same light too.
Well, Nate, I got two last questions. They're a little bit lighter. They're not disc golf focused. What is your death row last meal? You're dying, Nate. You're dying in the
Yeah,
chair. Sorry,
I'm
bud.
gonna no, I just spearfished a kingfish off the coast of New Zealand, and we just cut it up, and the boat's still rocking, and that fish just melts in my mouth, and I look up at the setting sun, and that's it.
I want you to bring me the setting sun. It's my last wish. Oh, that's funny. That does sound
What are you
good
gonna
though.
have, dude? Meat and
Oh, it's so
potatoes? What are
different
you
for
having,
me.
Brian? Chicken fried steak? What are you having,
Oh
dude?
man, I'm a garbage disposal compared to you, man. So many things running through my head right now.
Now you gotta say something fancy. You can't just say like Chick-fil-A or something.
Well, no, the problem is it's like, man, food is such a great thing that exists. What a joy it is to have food. I think I th- it's got to be one slice of Lou Malnati's deep dish sausage pizza from Chicago. I need
Oh,
one
that's
slice of that.
dope, dude.
I need a big sushi roll, like a dragon roll or a rainbow roll or something, some fresh fish.
Oh,
I need a
sweet
big
combo.
I need a liter of Heady Topper from Vermont. I need you to give that to me in a big giant crystal stein. I need a big thing of tiramisu. I need a pub sub from Publix down there in Florida. Maybe the chicken finger sub, not too shabby.
Pub sub, baby.
Yeah, if I die, I'd be uncomfortable. That'd be an uncomfortable last meal. I'd eat a little bit too much, and then maybe some lemon bars baked by grandma. But anyway, that's about as close as it gets.
That's
to a full
amazing.
one
It's
for
way
me.
better than just one piece of fish.
All
All right,
right,
what's the next one?
last one, Nate. Last one as we wrap it up. You're a big music guy. If you could be in one 90s alternative band, what would it be and why? You big 90s rock boy?
I would say Rage Against the Machine because of the message, and Tom Morello, so I could see just what's going on, like behind the scenes, like where does he cook up some of that stuff. And yeah, I was a huge Audio Slave guy, and
Nice.
I had a Sony Walkman with the Audio Slave CD, and we'd be in the truck towing the boat to Arkansas to go, ski and camp for the weekend. I'm like 12 years old, and I'm listening to Chris Cornell and Tom Morello and Audio Slave. So that would be pretty cool to be a part of that.
I would teleport back to the 90s, and I would be the front man in the band that for some reason gives me the biggest 90s nostalgia bomb. I would be Gavin Rossdale of Bush because for some reason the video of him playing Glycerine at Woodstock 99 tickles that 90s funny bone in a strange way for me. It's like the most rock star looking dude at the most rock star looking place. And that's what I would do. Shout outs, Greg. Great question. Love you, bud. Man, Nate, I got to tell you something. I didn't listen to Bush a lot as a kid. I had a Bush CD,
Me neither.
but for some
I know
reason,
the Glycerin song.
yeah, but there you go. There's a little peek behind the curtain. But Nate, I got no history today. We are going to give a little bit longer history lesson next week. I can't wait to
Cool.
give it to you.
Cool.
Hey, any final words before we wrap things up?
I'm ready for KC Wide Open, Bad Rock, and yeah, this is a good old time. I love all Birds No Bogeys. I look forward to it every week. I love working with you, man, and I'm sad I won't be on the ground this week again. I'm taking 2 events in a row off, which feels funny, but yeah, I'll miss you. I'll miss you out there. And are you working on the broadcast?
Yep, me and Charlie.
Okay, you and Charlie again. So Charlie comes down. He's coming down to Charlotte, and you're doing it from your house.
Yep.
Cool.
It's been going
And
pretty
then
well.
who's FPO? Who's FPO?
This time, actually, I don't know if there's a staffing crunch, but it's me and Charlie for both.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah, I thought Sarah sounded great, man. I really thought Hokum sounded great. Got the voice, really good details that she's bringing out. You can just tell that she just knows the game really well. Hope to have her back on. But man, crush it again, Brian. Crush it again. And I'll see you in Champions Cup.
Oh no, I'm seeing Kendrick
not
Lamar
even
that
going-
weekend.
You're
He's
not
coming
even going to
to
the West Coast.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to
He's
be
coming to
there.
Charlotte?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Good for
Hey.
you, man.
There you go. That's going to do it for All Birdies No Bogeys, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will catch you next time. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Love ya. Bye.